Yeah, I'm trying to produce the Parlay 3.
Next question.
I swear to God.
2030.
Swear.
Be a country album.
Fuck it. By then, I mean, knowing me for sure, God knows. I actually only use pots and pans for my pizza.
Tatted all on my chest, lavender in my sense. Always throwing some lemongrass, got faux fur on my bed. Got a 50-inch on the wall, got a studio down the hall. Got a love sofa in the corner case you wanna fuck around and get wet. Got window seats with the shiz, got a living room with the views. And I drop cable, turn the cord cut, and got some vibe and speed in this bitch. Like 26 with no kids, like 26 with no bitch. My mom, stepdad, and Marcus Ryan all got keys to my crib. And I haven't worn a shirt in like days. Jared Smith, swish. I don't fuck with no J's. I don't fuck with no J's.
That line didn't hold up well.
I don't fuck with no strings. I don't follow no trends. And I don't understand.
J.R. Smith, time out.
Okay. We got podcast 41.
You guys are on 41?
41.
41.
Shit.
That's what happens when you stick with something that's totally irrelevant.
Damn, you hating?
I'm hating on the podcast already.
Fuck?
That's right. We got a special guest, Cyrus. He hasn't been here in a while. Can we get an applause in the building? Word.
That's everybody, too. Yeah.
Very nice.
That
very
applause
nice.
is very high frequency. Is that all women in that applause?
Could be.
I think according to my Spotify, it's like 23% women.
Word.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, welcome.
What's up, man?
So I'm gonna start this podcast right off by dropping a huge bomb. Oh, you had to get that last one off.
Kill shot.
Dope.
There it is.
So after, well, I was trying to think when exactly did we sign you? Because it was way earlier than what Love Cyrus actually
Love
dropped.
Cyrus came out in, I think, May. We had our first dialogue in November talking about the show.
Was it so May 2015
Yeah, but we first started talking in November, and I think
of 2014?
Yeah,
so,
and I think we met at the Arby's or whatever before we did the show,
right.
and we did the show in January. So
I was going to say, I think January is what jumped up to me as far as like you sign.
You first mentioned it to me, and it didn't even occur to me that you were really talking about signing me. You just said something about like you were starting a label, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, what information?
Okay, cool. Do you want to do the show though?
Oh yeah, I was like, what does that have to do with me?
Well, I didn't know what was going on at the time
right.
either. So.
Our first.
We probably wouldn't have started a label if you didn't want to.
I think it was official by around January. So
That's
Word.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So January of 15. So it's coming up on 4 years.
4 years. Coming up on 4 years. We had Love Cyrus. We had We Should Just Enjoy Ourselves. We had multiple singles. After all that is said and done, Cyrus is leaving us at the top of the year.
Oh shit.
And I am sad. I am sad. Just because...
That's not what you said 10 minutes ago.
No, I'm definitely sad.
I'm joking.
What did I say 10 minutes ago?
I'm fucking around.
10 minutes ago, you were in this crowd.
Oh shit.
Get him out of here!
It's time for Cyrus to see what he can do by himself without me keeping him down.
This is where we see some news headline or article 6 months from now, and like a local paper. Things are not going well.
Yeah. Just to expand on that, is putting my label head cap on. Just so I know there are people out there that are listening to this right now and are as disappointed as I am that with this news. But I would like to make clear, we are not a major music label. We do not have the tools to create somebody that is massive. This has always been what this label has been established for. We did not establish this label to have Cyrus stay here until he was 40 years old.
Right.
We didn't design it for me to stay here until I'm 40 years old.
Yeah,
But,
we never expected for any one artist to just be a career Specktators artist.
Yeah. So what I want to make clear is this is technically, although I would like him to stay a little bit longer,
Yeah.
this is technically how it's designed. we're not expecting any artist that we sign to this label to stay with us forever. So that should just get out of everybody's heads right now as far as why is Cyrus leaving? Why is this all happening?
Cyrus not being a part of the Specktators label going forward to me is more of a graduation than a leaving.
And that occurred to me literally earlier today, that this whole experience has felt like my college. I never went to college.
Yeah.
So what this is me working on my craft, being given a platform to do that and experiment and find out if I'm good at this, if I think I have a future in it. And I think I just determined that I did, and I just something I need to figure out.
And I guess that's the thing, is when I was reflecting back on everything that you've done and where this label has gone, with you being the first artist that signed to it, I have to say that I am very happy with what ended up transpiring with the whole situation. Is I would have never thought that you would have the success that you did, and that is not a knock on you as an artist. It's more a knock on me not having confidence in our ability to do a record label. And that's, I am more than glad on not only you, but everybody else that we have signed since you. And it's kind of helped prove to me and Patrick both that this actually can be a thing. Yeah. And we can work as a team and make something bigger than just us. But it does end at some point, and we fully acknowledge that. We are not here to catapult you to radio plays and things like that. That's not what we were here for. It's literally just to do what you've done on our label, and I think this is a perfect time for you to go out and see what you can do by yourself.
Yeah, and I was like, I think there's going to be some general misconception that the relationship stops here. Like, no, we are business partners for everything released up to this point. It's going to take a really long time before I have a catalog that's bigger than that. So, the Specktators are very much going to be the majority of my...
Yeah, and for sure, just going forward, even on a separate from business perspective, it's like, that's the whole point of this being more of a graduation than anything, is just like, and we've talked a few times, just not related to this specifically, but us being a small independent label, things like, retweeting projects and promoting albums of each other and shit like that is, we fuck with each other and we like the music, but it's also business and shit. So going forward, even though you're not going to see, Cyrus's name pop up on the Specktators social medias and the Specktators whatever going forward a ton, that doesn't mean that like we don't fuck with what Cyrus is doing and support him and want the best for Cyrus, and vice versa. Like before everything I would drop, it's like, it's promoted on Cyrus's shit too, because that's part of being teammates on a label. Yeah. But just because that goes away doesn't mean that there's like, bad blood or whatever the case may be. So it's cool to have the podcast and be able to actually explain this in long form than just see the tweets roll in from fans that are like, yo, what the fuck? You guys not?
People would start drawing conclusions. No, the reality is I lost in a rap battle to Apollo. And so he's replacing me.
He's the new Cyrus. Wait, before we can, you guys can continue. I totally forgot to plug in my computer before we.
Power you charge that shit.
It's I'm not sure if I have my power. Do you have your power?
Yeah, mine's plugged in my desk. All right, I'm gonna grab it. All right, so I guess we might as well, while he's gone, we might as well get into just as big a news.
What's up?
Word on the street is that even though you're dipping,
peacing,
it's safe to assume you have been working on music.
So much.
And before, I guess we'll say, we haven't even set an official date, but I guess we'll say like December 31st will be your last official day under the Specktators. Yeah. And before that day hits, word on the street is you've got some new music you want to drop.
Yeah, we're going to, little going away present, little farewell. I'm going to drop something I'm super proud of, and I think it's going to be the best music to date on the label for myself, and I think it'll be awesome to go out with a bang. So
now, you told Mo and I a few specifics. Can we specifically related to the new music you're dropping under the Specktators? Can we talk about that a little bit or not?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I don't even want to say EP. It's an EP.
Yep.
We can say that, right?
Yep.
It's dropping December 7th.
Yep.
Friday.
Okay.
And the coolest aspect to me about it is you produce the whole thing.
Yeah, so
because that's new for you.
Everything that you hear from me for probably a really long time, at least all of next year too, especially 100% produced, mixed, mastered. I am Russ with a sigh, Russ with a sigh in front of it. Every single thing is every single thing you hear is me. So, yeah.
Are you gonna turn into Russ?
I got the.
Are you gonna start all your songs with mixed, mastered, and produced?
We'll see how petty I get in 12 to 15 months, maybe. I hope I'm successful enough to be like him. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You guys have both gotten to experience this. So I guess it's a good question but I'm going to ask Cyrus now because it's his first time doing this in full. I know you've produced before, but to produce, a batch of songs. Can you describe, obviously there's probably a much more sense of pride in the final product, but can you describe the feeling when you have a batch of songs that you're putting out that you did all, because people don't understand how big of a deal producing is. You just kind of, if an artist featured on a song, right, they're in the title as featuring this artist. When really writing a 16 and recording that on somebody else's song is so much easier than producing a record. Producing a record is 50% of the record.
Right.
And people don't give producers enough of their credit. So as an artist, being able to sit back and be for the first time, being this whole thing is produced by me and I wrote it and I recorded it. What's the feeling of that different from before?
I think and this also ties in before Mo was charging the computer. I think lost my train of thought for a second. I actually didn't make any of the beats. I'm on a front right now. What I realized is really
can't keep up with this facade.
How many artists do you know that have really bad songs on great beats, so they're still hits?
Yeah.
It doesn't work the other way around. You can't have a garbage beat and have a good song.
Absolutely.
That doesn't work that way.
No.
So I realized that at some point in 2017 when I was doing the weekly singles and I had a lot of things going on personally, there was just not enough time in the day. I realized near the end of that up until probably a few months ago, that I had absolutely no fulfillment anymore out of just listening to someone else's product and then putting my flavor on it, adding something, adding a verse. I get absolutely no fulfillment out of that anymore. I don't care about buying beats, and just rap. I can rap and sing on songs all day, come up with melodies, but it got to a point where I was like, this doesn't feel like me. It doesn't feel original. I was like, maybe the reason it's not hitting is because it's not 100% me. It's just oh yeah, it's a really good beat, but there's a lot of beats like that and with someone else rapping on them. And right. I was and leasing beats and doing things like that and hearing someone else on a beat, there was a disconnect for me. So I started getting back into producing and I made one record that I was like, oh shit, this is pretty good. I spent so fucking long on it, a week just on the production and piecing it together. And then I just started messing around samples, messing around with playing my own drums and doing all that again, because I started as a producer, not a good one, but I started that way because I was like, how the fuck do I get beats? Mm-hmm. Right. So, and then I got to a point where I was like, oh shit, I'm pretty fucking good at this. And then I was starting to enjoy music again. And that started happening a few months ago because I think it's very obvious that I hit a wall right before the halfway point of 2017, where I was just like, what's next? I was just like, I feel like I'm just running in circles here.
Yeah.
Until maybe something catches. And I'm the type of person that never cared. I never looked at rapping or making music as a long-term goal. This is what makes sense right now. But there are so many, this is a stepping stone. There's so many other things that I want to accomplish. And so when I started producing and realizing my mixes I'm more confident about my mixing and my mastering, I was just like, if I can do this all myself, what else could I do?
Right.
And that's when it occurred to me that it's it feels more like a college experience. And I know that I'm going off track a little bit here.
No, keep talking,
bro. This whole experience has been awesome, and it's really helped me learn and understand myself. It's allowed me to reach the point where I'm actually enjoying myself. And it's for me to take that next step and really move forward, it's like, what else can I do? Like, do I want to dabble with merch designs? Do I want to start doing all this? And I just kind of realized that I wanted to, let's see how far it can take me. You know, it's like, so I will be producing everything. Everything that you're going to hear on this project is produced by me. Everything that you hear from me for the, I guess, at least in the near future and probably for quite a while, is going to be produced by me. Everything's going to be by me. And there's so much more fulfillment. And the fact that you can start a song, work through the idea and the beat. So all of a sudden you're writing lyrics with the beat opposed to writing lyrics to the beat. So it's like the song is growing with you. So every single word that you're saying is more genuine and it fits perfectly with that snare right there, with this right here. And so it's like I'm painting a canvas rather than just coming in and being like, oh, no, you should have added this right here. And it's like, which is fun. I like to do that. But it's like, yeah, I've just reached a point where I'm so excited to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would think a song is much more a representation of you and what you did and what you made when you do the whole thing. Like, that's just kind of how it has to be. That's how it works. It's harder. It takes more time.
Yeah.
But again, like touching on what you kind of said there, and I think that's why it's cool to think about. I never really thought of it that way with your time under the Specktators label being kind of like going to school and learning some of these things is you kind of over the last 4 years, and you just touched on it, self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
And I think now you are kind of graduating into, okay, let's see how self-sufficient I can be and how self-sufficient I am. And when you are able to produce and when you're able to write and record and do all these other things you're talking about that you like taking control of, like you want to have ownership of those things.
Yeah, of course.
And when you can do that, you're naturally going to be more successful because, bro, I think you were talking with Apollo. So many rappers have to go pay for studio time.
Yeah.
You know, $35 an hour to go record here.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to be an artist and every hour you spend in the studio, you got to spend $35.
Yeah.
Like, and then when we talk about success, you know, making money has to be a part of it. You don't get to make music for a living and not make money. Like you don't, it's just not how it works. So if you don't have to pay producers for beats, if you are able to engineer and set up your own home studio, which you are, and you don't have to go pay for studio time, there's more money in your pocket. Then you start getting into other things. Can I graphic design? Can I do this? And that's why you having interest in those things, and then over the last however many years trying to master those crafts is going to be so beneficial for you going forward.
Right. Yeah. And that, I guess that's the thing is that's the bottom line is like with an operation that's as small as ours, you can only go so far. Like that's
not true. You can go anywhere with the Specktators Collective, LLC.
Yeah. I don't think
Moe-T
so.
out here hating on the podcast, talking about how you can't go anywhere under the Specktators label.
No.
Well, obviously that's not true because you can go somewhere.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was like, that's definitely not it. It's just like
go look at those plaques on the wall.
I mean, it's really simple. Do you want to work for somebody the rest of your life, or do you kind of want to be the boss?
Right.
And I just kind of reached the point where it's like, I think I'm in a position where I can make those decisions now.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe my ship goes down, but at least that's my ship, you know?
And that's interesting because we talk all the time on this podcast about, you know, being independent artists, right? And I always think of our artists as independent artists, like Matt was saying. It's the Specktators label. It's not, you know, good music. But at the same time,
it's great music.
Exactly. But at the same time, there's certain important aspects that I'm sure you're aware of that, like, yeah, you aren't your own boss. Like no. And so now when you're not under the Specktators Collective, you get to try that out.
That's actually Kid Cudi left good music where I thought he was at the peak of his career, where he was putting out his best shit, and then he leaves to start his own label, which never transpired or turned into anything. He dropped a couple projects which were like meh, like, and he's a huge inspiration of mine.
Yeah. And
then he comes back later, and Kanye and him just dropped a really dope project, and now they have like a little group together, and they always maintained a relationship.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, and I think that's as close as I could describe this being. It's just like, whether this works or not, like I'm gonna go find out. And then
there's tons of examples of that too. Like, I mean, artists they start on independent labels and then they go to create whatever they wanted to create after that.
And when you think about it, 4 years is a long time.
Yeah, 4 years is a long time. It is.
It's not like this was just some quick little thing.
No. It seems like that.
I know it feels like that at times.
But yeah, it definitely is. But
so I guess one question I had, because I know, like, we probably should have made a bigger deal on social media leading up to this, letting fans know that Cyrus was going to be on, so we could get a bunch of questions. Do we have a lot for him?
I mean, not a lot, but
yeah,
I said something that he was going to be on.
I know. I'm just saying we should have made a bigger deal about it. But one question I had was, because especially over you trying to do all these things over the last year and a half, you and I personally don't touch base a whole lot. You talk more with Mo.
Yep.
And so I know, we just said 4 years ago, when you kind of first started with the Specktators, and I guess give it like a year and a half. So a year and a half into your time with the Specktators.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know like what, I guess think about that in comparison to now. What would you say now is the most difficult part of being an independent artist or making music, being in the music business type thing, compared to what you thought it was then? Has it changed? Is it a similar type of thing, or like?
I would say that I was working equally as hard in the beginning. It wouldn't have been spread across multiple avenues. I was working just as hard, but I still had no idea. Like, that's the truth. That's the short version. I had no idea what to expect. I wasn't sure if I was great yet. It was more so me discovering myself musically and developing that confidence. And then as soon as I started seeing people reply and saying, "Oh my God, I remember one of the first, sounds like Hoodie Allen or some shit." And I never saw that comparison ever again after 17 came out. But I was like seeing those things, and it was like, but it was cool to be compared to someone who I think makes pretty good music. So I was like, in the beginning, that's kind of what it was. I was doing studio time. I was the engineer for people that charged $35 an hour. And so I would be recording people all day and be like, it was hard to go home and be creative after recording someone you hated for 8 hours or just some music you just didn't vibe with. You're like, I don't even want to fucking listen to anything anymore. So I was like, in the beginning, it was just like walking through a room in the dark, trying to find the door. That's honestly probably the best example I could give you. Whereas now I feel like I can see a bunch of doors and I'm just like, okay, well, I guess we'll start here and we'll just, whichever one lets me in, you know? So I was like, that's, I guess would be the best way to put it.
That's actually a really good comparison.
Yeah.
Because when you said it, I was like, oh, that's kind of the music industry in general. Well, but then like when you said, okay, then there's a bunch of doors. I can see them now, but I don't know what one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, that's probably the best way I could put it. And it helped because you guys had already done that. You'd already established something. So being thrown into that, which in the beginning I didn't adjust too well for the first 6 to 9 months. Because like, I'm the shit. Can't tell me anything. I mean, but then it was just like, no, take a fucking chill pill. And so it was, it was nice to be able to ask Mo questions or to have that open dialogue so that I can learn and do that myself, opposed to just like, before it was just like, I'm going to keep doing fucking 2 to 3 shows a week where I see the same faces and I just didn't know when something was going to catch. I didn't really know what the next step was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still don't, you know?
Yeah. But you're more equipped to deal with opportunities when they come up.
I was like, it's more so I have connections. There is something, there's a resume. So there's like,
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if that answered. I don't know if
no, that 100% does.
I don't know if that's, I answered your question as well as I could have.
You did.
Did you ever think like, or when you first signed to us, I guess afterwards you probably could take the hint, but it was a good, like, I was looking at your stats the other day, like on Spotify and everything. It's so crazy because, you forget that, like, you release Love Cyrus and it takes months
slow burn
for like anything to come of that. But then when you look at it today, you're like, Northside, almost 2 million. Or is it at 2 million?
I think it probably is.
I think it's over it, yeah.
2 million, 17, 1 million. Like all that type of shit is, it's like, those are the bedrocks of like when you started and everything. And it's weird thinking that took so long for that to catch on and get to that point where it could actually reach those numbers.
Yeah.
Because as of right now, I'm just like, oh yeah, Northside, most popular song, like whatever.
Yeah.
It took like 7 months for that to happen.
And it hurt. It's still weird to look at too, because after it happens, your expectations just grew when you didn't have any in the first place.
Yeah.
So now, especially when I reached the end of 2017 and I saw things kind of just like plateauing a little bit while I was trying to figure out myself and things, and it was just like, oh, no, I'm a loser. This shit is not working out. Like, you can't help but think those things.
No, I know.
No,
and it's just like, then it was like, no, I'm fucking awesome at this, and it worked then, and it's just gonna work way better now because I'm better. That's it.
Well, that's one thing that I learned throughout you being part of the Specktators Collective was you see things a different way when you're like quote unquote managing or overseeing another artist as opposed to just being the artist and being on the inside of it.
Yeah.
Like you get to see it from a whole different perspective. Cause like what you just said there, when you were like, I went into it with no expectations. And then all of a sudden when these songs hit, that just becomes the new expectation.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what happens when shit doesn't hit like that?
Yeah.
I've experienced that many times as an artist. When I saw it with you, it was so easy for me to be like, Cyrus, like, dude, it's a super success that these songs hit like that. Look at it as a success and then get back to the drawing board. And, you're still not shit yet. But when I'm an artist,
it's impossible.
It's a different perspective that you look through it in. And I know and because of the success you were able to have, I was able to look at things and like see different points with you. Like, okay, he's having this type of success. How's he feeling? Where's his mind at? Like, what's he doing here? And when it's you, it's the same thing. Like if you're in a shitty relationship or something and everyone else can see it, but you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, sometimes you just need to be able to step out of something to see it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think you'll even be able to see that a little more now with taking on more responsibilities for yourself too. You'll be able to see different aspects of shit that you didn't get to see before that maybe like Mo was handling or something else.
I think it's just like you can't stop challenging yourself.
No.
And I just reached a point where I didn't feel challenged. Like making songs is the easiest part of this to me. I'm just being myself.
Yeah.
I'm not doing, I was like, I got good at the songwriting part. I can write good songs. Yeah, that's nothing. All the other stuff, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what to expect.
Right. Yeah.
So every time I sit down to record, I'll be like, the song's already dope. I already know that.
I want to clarify too, because when I said it took 7 months for that to like hit, I mean like to start going up. Like not that it hit 1 million like in 7 months.
Right. I remember I had a screenshot. I can't even remember it. And it was at I want to say very end of 2015 or start of 2016. I think by the end of the year, I was close to 50,000 monthly listeners.
Yeah.
It was somewhere in that ballpark. It was between like 30 and 50.
Yeah.
I didn't care so much about those numbers as I did YouTube because it hit more on YouTube for me.
Yeah.
That was easier for me to see. Like, I don't know what a stream means.
Well, and back then it was a little bit more like, that's what it was.
And I remember like when we dropped 17, how many plays it got on SoundCloud the first 24 hours.
Yeah, that was...
And it was like betwing 5 and 10,000 or something. That doesn't really happen anymore.
No.
So it was a shitload.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing that and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, and that's what's even crazy. What we talk about all the time on this podcast, just... It's hard to know what to look at sometimes in the music industry because shit changes so often.
Yeah.
Like when you were a much smaller artist with less fans, you might have been able to do something on a certain platform that you can't do now when you have more fans and you're more successful because things have just gone to a different place.
Yeah.
It's weird to try to keep up with that shit.
Yeah. No, it is. It's super weird to keep up with that shit. But yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of like when you're coming on the podcast and just with announcing leaving the label and stuff, I was just trying to go back and figure out like exactly
where did it all go wrong.
Where did I go wrong? Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of crazy just to like see those numbers and see like how long because it just doesn't feel like that when you're like in it. You know what I'm saying?
It just what didn't happen is that your guys' success was gradual. You got to build it yourselves. Like you touched everything that happened, every merch order, every play, everything.
Nothing was really a surprise.
So exactly. Yeah. So it's just like as soon as you realize it. I was having a conversation with a Lyft driver that was totally unrelated on the way here, and he was just like, "How do you know when you make it?" It was like, is it just one of those things where like, "Oh shit, that's Beyonce."
Yeah.
Like, when does that happen if it's gradual and it's something you're just kind of like, oh, I just been doing what I'm doing and I guess I'm here now.
Well, and then the next step is then when you've made it to a certain point that you didn't think you'd necessarily make it to, and then you've been there for a little bit, then it's like, okay, I didn't make it.
No,
like there's so much more that.
Well, that's why a lot of people, like big people, will say you never really do make it because you're always looking for more.
Yeah, that's why, like when whenever anyone asks me that type of question, when did you know you blah blah blah, which is always a funny question to me because I never think of myself as having like made it to any level of okay, I made it, because I'm always like, this could be gone tomorrow and I'll have to go get a real job or whatever. Yeah. But for me, the easy answer is when I quote unquote made it is when I got to quit my job. That was like that's cool. A monumental moment of I get to support myself off of making music. Yeah. But then after a few months of that, it hits you like, okay, wait, this money that I was making when I was 23 that I got to quit my job and support myself with ain't the same as when you're 26, 27 and
30,
and you gotta see and you start having to like have all these different responsibilities, pay for all these different things, and you're like, oh shit, and I don't get any benefits, I don't get any 401k, like I don't get any of this shit, and it's like, okay, so I gotta make this much more money, set it aside to have and you start to get stressed out, and it's like, that's being an artist, dude. Like,
people don't understand is like 50 grand in the music industry is like, well, I spent about 30,000 that year reinvested,
right?
Taxes, so I made about $8,000,
right.
So it was just like, it sounds cool, but it's like, no, you have to be so much more successful than a traditional
the money goes
career.
Fast in the music industry.
That's why I was just like, every merch order.
Yeah.
I'm so in the hole right now for my plans beyond this, and it's just like, but I don't have a choice. It's like, I have to do that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, Packy and I go through it every time we order new merch. It's like, we see these all the merch on the shelves, and we're like, well, we better sell a lot of this.
They don't fucking have
dollar signs,
refunds.
It's just like a shelf of money.
Not in a good way, though. Like,
right.
It's red money.
Right. Yeah. But it is always scary. It doesn't get less scary, I feel like. It's just always that way.
Which is messed up. Like, that's when I always am like, Packy, take some fucking responsibility in your life. Like, you're not doing anything different than you were X amount of years ago. Like, you're better off than you were X amount of years ago. Why are you not better off? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
All right.
It's like, literally, it's like working for a restaurant, but then you have to buy all the food.
Yeah.
And you're also serving the food.
Right.
It's quicksand, bro.
It's just like, it's a lot, man. Yeah. It's not traditional. I can understand why people give up, like, for real. Yeah. It's so easy to do.
Hell yeah.
So
that's what you have to look forward to.
Yeah, I can't wait.
All this shit we're talking about.
I can't wait for this to all not work out.
This was our low-key pitch for you to stay with the label.
And then I come back just tail between my legs.
Remember when we told you all the bullshit, bro? We tried to tell you all the bullshit when you came by the podcast.
Can I get my studio back?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's about all I have.
Basically, what I was saying basically is that you guys had a very gradual build-up, and I didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I did personally because I knew all the things I was doing, but the numbers weren't
Your story is
reflected.
still your story. Like, you still, you didn't
like
just wake up when we signed you and start making music.
My most plays on SoundCloud was like 2,000 or 3,000 on a song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I tripled that in one day.
Yeah.
So it was like, guess I'm in it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. So it was hard to, it was grateful, but like I said, expectations just grew so quickly. So it was really easy for me to hit a wall after a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the thing with us as far as being the label heads is we didn't know what to expect when we signed somebody and gave them that automatic, like those automatic numbers, technically, how they would react to that. Because we didn't experience that.
I was just happy to have someone else pay for my beats.
Yeah, I mean,
that was literally it.
And that's the thing is, like, we didn't know. Like, it was super new to us, too. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of like, but now with you and Marcus and Apollo, I think we have kind of a grasp on how that kind of goes.
Yeah.
So it is a learning experience for everybody, but it's just
so aside of label specifics, and we can kind of keep it on, I mean, maybe you can relate it to your music. I don't know, but one of the biggest things in music now is how you put out music, quantity and quality, length of projects, length of songs. Do you have like a general take or feeling on where things are headed and how you feel about that shit? Or are you just kind of like, to each their own, whatever's clever?
And in regards to song length and things?
Song length, like project length, and like quality or quantity. Not necessarily over quality, but it really used to be like 4 or 5 years ago. It was, I think most people would agree, 90% of people would agree, quality over quantity, 100%.
Yeah.
In music.
Unless you were Lil Wayne and you just had both. Because like around that time.
For sure. Yeah,
like,
both is the best. But if you had to choose, quality. You know, you can give us one album a year, and if it's dope, that's what all we need.
I mean, you have to, I was like, the artist, I would say it's far and few in between now, where Chance is successful by doing that. When was the last time he put a project out?
Right.
You know, and he toured and made so much fucking money off of it. Just, he has, 2 projects out? Acid Rap, Coloring Book.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like the...
Oh, and then he had his original joint, his original mixtape. So it's like, most artists aren't like that. Anderson .Paak is kind of like that, where he's only got a couple projects out.
Yeah, I feel like there's very few artists that are like that.
You have to have a huge machine to pull that off effectively. Otherwise, it's just going to it makes way more sense to be like, let's put out one song at a time. Because all you're doing, and instead of just like, I'm going to throw this and hopefully someone sees it, or I can just, here's a bunch of things and someone will see something.
Right.
You know, so for me, I battle with it all the time. What I want to do with releases. I would say with songs, I go through, I like to call them Drake moments, where all of a sudden you'll be writing something and then it's all of a sudden it's a 4 or 5 minute song and there's no chorus, like you're having a Drake moment. Or when he would do a feature on someone's shit and have way more than 16 bars, where it's just like, as soon as you start writing, you just kind of keep going and then you're like, how far can I take this? I'm guilty of that all the time. I think I have plenty of songs as examples on the label that are like 5 minutes long that could have been 2.5.
Yeah.
So, it definitely depends on the person. The one thing I liked about Tentacion when he was putting music out is that a lot of his stuff is very short and sweet. And at first I was like, you just see a track list and they're all like 1.5 minutes and 2 minutes long. And then you just realize that he just cut the fat off the song.
Yeah.
It's the best 2 minutes of the song.
Yeah.
Crazy replay value, on to the next one.
Yep.
See, and that's me personally now. It's funny because my taste has totally flipped on this since I put out the Parlay, really. I remember early in my career, I was always a big proponent of, I would hate when other artists would never put a third verse on a song. It was always like 2 verses, and I could see the third verse dying.
Yeah.
Like I could see it and I hated it. Like if you listen to the Parlay, I got tons of 3-verse songs on there.
Yeah.
Or at least like 16, 16, 12 or something like that. But then since then, as time's gone on, not only because you get the argument of just streams, shorter songs, shorter whatever, you get like that replay value type thing. But aside from that, just my personal taste, I like what you said with XXXTentacion and that type of shit. To me, it's just trimming the fat off. Like I used to love listening to a 40-second outro of a dope instrumental at the end of a song. I'm just not as into it anymore. Yeah. Like as soon as the lyrics are done in a song, for the most part,
you can move on to the next one, you know?
Yeah, so it's like, why even put it there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just a reasoning for like having so much to digest nowadays that it's like, I don't have time to listen to your outro.
Right. I heard it.
I got 16 other songs to listen to today.
Next.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas it didn't used to be like that. Like
it's so tough. Just because I think we're all kind of collectively at the same, no pun intended, similar points in regards to listeners, to where if you were to drop an album, you don't want it to get swept under the rug. You just want the single mentality. I hate it, but it makes more sense than everything else.
And I think that's a good way to put it. As an artist, I hate it too.
It's
but
fucking.
I cannot come up with an argument that doesn't support it as a business.
Just until you reach a point where it's just like the demand,
right?
Is so much higher
than the
supply.
Like,
because I guess
thing.
like you named, Chance and Anderson .Paak, and okay, are there any more successful than like you and I, but small independent artists that just put out an album a year? But they're successful, but they're not, the big industry names.
Gosh.
There's probably, I'm sure there's like underground guys that have the cult following that can do that.
Yeah.
But I would bet you a lot of independent artists that are just
I would
trying
preface
to make a
that
name.
to that aren't signed to a independent label that is bigger than them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Because I'm thinking like rhyme sayers and things like that.
I would even say like, to this point, like just purely independent artists.
Yeah.
If you're not signed to any type of label, I think there's no way you could do just like an album a year. I think you'd have to have more content than that.
Yeah, it's really. I'm trying to think. I mean, Kid Quill is someone I have a dialogue with on a regular basis, and his success is like perfect in my opinion. He's like the example of like, I think that'd be the perfect way to have things happen.
And he pretty much does albums, doesn't he?
Pretty much, yeah. Per year, he's put out a couple songs this year. But I was like, that's pretty much the focal point for him.
Yeah.
It's like
he lives
really
on
good
the road.
album. Yeah, fucking tour.
Yeah,
and it's working. It's working super well. So it's like, I'm trying to think of someone else that might be in that tier, or maybe even a step up, because God knows like where that success is going to go, or if that's, he could be just prepping to drop 8 singles right now. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But then you'd have to take a pretty big leap to people like John Bellion that can do that.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a huge leap.
Right.
It just doesn't matter. I know that fans appreciate it because they just want to listen start to finish. You know, fucking replay the shit out of it for like a week and then move on to their next artist. You know, that doesn't benefit me, you know?
I've even seen it with the fans a little bit, though, with me. Like, when I kind of announced that I was just going to do a bunch of singles when I first started.
Where's the album?
Yeah, it was tons of that. Now I actually get a fair amount of, there's still the where's the album, but I get a fair amount of, I'm glad you're doing the singles. Like, I think people, after you can look back a year and a half or whatever, however the fuck long it's been, and be like, damn, it's actually dope when one of my favorite artists is just consistently in my music, as opposed to him dropping an album and I'm playing that shit nonstop for a month, and then a month if you're lucky these days, and then I don't hear from him. It's like he's a constant entity in my playlists now, and that's cool. And I didn't realize it until it happened.
Right.
Luke Christopher is doing that right now. He drops a single every Friday. He's doing 52 a whole full year.
He just announced it.
Like, he just announced it recently. It's called The Renaissance. But he's
I did see that. Yeah.
And I was like, so bold, because he was very quiet. He was quiet for quite a while.
Yeah, he was.
I was like, I wonder what he's doing, because I know that he has a major
52 songs.
Well, he has a major label machine too, so he has the luxury of being able to just lock himself and do that. But I was like, at first I was like, man, that's like, I feel like what's gonna happen is that somewhere in the middle you're gonna be like, a bunch of decent songs that maybe you shouldn't have put out that were just good ideas but didn't really go anywhere. But I was like, he's been pretty consistent. I don't even know what song he's on by now, probably like 11 or 12 or something.
Does he put him out on Spotify?
Yeah, every single Friday.
I feel like I was just recently on his Spotify and didn't.
They all have the exact same
maybe
cover
I did.
art. They all,
I think I do know.
Which I like too, because thinking of 52 cover arts, I'd be
oh my god.
Oh yeah,
fuck.
That's what we tell everybody, because we're trying to go the singles route as a label in general. It doesn't mean there won't be projects, but we want our artists to keep putting singles out. And when we went to Apollo and talked to him about that, it's like, come up with a general theme of cover art, because you don't want to be just constantly having.
It's impossible to keep up.
No, that's the one thing that I've discovered by myself. I'm very limited visually.
Yeah,
like, I have good ideas, but for me to sit down with Photoshop, it's like, where's the fucking paint bucket?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like
cover art is cool, but at the end of the day, it's not actually gonna result in like more than a couple plays. Right. So if you got the music, you work your ass off on the music, you got the music done. You don't also want to be like, I gotta wait another week to try to come up with some cover art, or I gotta pay someone to go do this cover art and whatever, because then it just
unless you're a big time artist that literally your album just gets thrown up on every splash page of every single whatever music streaming service, because then it just acts like a billboard.
Right. But
so then you do have to have
but those are for the artists that are doing like an album or a big single or something.
Right.
We're not talking about the artists that are trying to just do a bunch of singles.
Well, that's the thing is coming up with 52 single album artworks, it would drive me insane.
As soon as I saw he was doing the exact same one, I was like, that's a good idea, bro. Yeah. Just fucking who cares?
So is he changing anything about it, or is it the exact same cover art?
Exact same.
See, my only beef with that and why we changed it up is just that if a song hits, I want that like to stick in people's minds, like whatever color it was or whatever, whatever was different about that.
His career is really interesting too, because Yeah, like his Lot to Learn has 234 million streams.
And then the
drop
song.
off is enormous.
Yeah.
Like he still does crazy listens.
I like his Hearts song.
Yeah, like you can see the singles.
Yeah.
They all have the exact same cover art.
Interesting.
I like it though. I look forward to it on Friday. Like I work on Friday, so I fucking play a Luke Christopher record while I walk to work.
That's something I'm trying to get into going into 2019. And obviously it won't necessarily be a song every week. I don't know what, but as far as dropping music, dropping something, I more and more want to place value in same day every week or same whatever, because
be consistent.
It's something that people can count on every week. Like my favorite podcasts and stuff like that. They drop on the same day every week, and I'm ready to go back and listen to them. Like I know I don't have to see it advertised to me on social media. I just wake up and I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday. This podcast is on. I'm going to listen to it.
Right.
I don't have to be prompted by anything else.
Nope.
And so I think there's value in that.
Yeah, it's so hard to make those decisions, but then it's equally as exciting if Kendrick were to drop an album right now. But oh shit,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I was like, that's equally. But I was like, no one. He's the only person that's Kendrick.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's the thing. That's part of the like slow build that we always talk about is just you. So many of these things you're not gonna see the results right away. Yeah. Like you have to just be consistent and stick to something through the bullshit, because you just don't. It's the same shit you talked about with like Northside and 17 or whatever. When you 6 months, you didn't really see anything crazy, and then all of a sudden, it's like
it just one day you're like, whoa, this hit
after
a million.
3 months, it would have been
like,
easy to write it off and be like, okay, what was wrong with this song? Like, why didn't it hit?
Right.
Well, it did.
That's the thing. Like the majority of our songs on this label have that kind of success.
I know, it's weird.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just natural though. Like as an artist, I think you think of songs. You have a whole period of time, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it be a week or 2 months, where you're working on a song, and you're attached to this song for that period of time. When you put a song out, for you as an artist, that's the end. Right. And you're on to the next song.
Oh, yeah. Even probably before then.
Yeah. You know? Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For fans, your end is their beginning.
Yeah, of course.
So then you think of this whole timeline of them hearing it, their friends hearing it,
them putting
some
on
big
their
YouTuber
friends.
hearing it, some playlist hearing it, putting everybody, and it spreads like that. But you've been on to 2-3 other songs by then. Yeah. So I think it's just it's a artist mindset.
That's I do it all the time. Just wait to get this other shit. That just sucks.
Yeah, no, I know, bro.
I do it all the time.
It's weird. It's weird. I've had a song submitted that's coming out Friday that I was listening to for a month and a half, and I really liked the song. I was listening to it all the time in my car when I was working on it.
Oh yeah, of course.
Now I'm listening to the songs I'm working on now, but I'm about to drop a new song on Friday that is out of my personal playlist and stuff now, because I'm onto the new shit. Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's weird. Like, I hate it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, like I'm obviously submitting the last project for the label, and a few hours after I head out of here, and it's just in the last 24 hours alone, how many times I've listened to 2 out of 3 of those songs.
Yeah,
and it's like shit's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's God, one song probably 150 times in a row, probably. You know how many fucking hours that is?
Right.
Just every fucking word.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Dope. Anything else about independent music?
Let's take some fan calls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had those. Here we go.
Let's
apologies if you just missed the fact that Cyrus was going to be on the pod and you wanted to get a question in and you didn't. I'm sure
this is the last. This is it. You'll never hear from me again.
I would say hit him up, but he doesn't ever tweet or anything. Although you've been getting on it more.
I've been trying to do better. I had to take time to find myself.
Wow.
I can't worry about others until I love myself.
All right.
Yo, Pack, Moe-T. So before I ask my question, I just want to thank Apollo for the follow on Twitter and the I don't even know videos. Dope. Personally, I think one of the best on the channel. And my question is, what kind of cars do you drive? And your dream cars?
Cars.
Cars.
I can answer mine very quickly.
Go ahead.
I haven't driven my car in probably 3.5 years. I live 2 blocks away from the place that I work on the weekends. and I have a home studio. I have absolutely, the only time I need to leave the crib is to go get groceries. And it's so much cheaper to Uber or Lyft everywhere. I have a BMW, a 325i, and sitting in a storage unit.
Yeah.
Cyrus lives like he lives in New York City.
I know, exactly. Yeah.
Which is wild to me.
Oh, and if I would, I'm not buying another car. I've already, like, I don't see a reason. I'm not buying another one until I get a Tesla, probably.
Damn.
But that's not gonna,
goals.
It's not gonna happen anything. They have affordable Teslas. They're like 30 grand. You can get pretty normal ones.
That's true.
But I wouldn't get that one. If I'm gonna buy one, I'm gonna get a good one.
I like how he justified it.
Right.
But I wouldn't get that one.
Absolutely not. So I was like, I don't have any plans to buy any cars anytime soon. Fuck cars. I've had so many car problems. I was a delivery driver for like 4 years. Fuck cars. Yeah. That's how I feel about cars.
I am not a car guy.
Yeah,
so
I'm not either.
Yeah, you asked the wrong people this question, I guess. But I have a
always had.
2016 Mazda 6, and it's a lease. I leased it right when I moved home. I moved back from the West Coast, and I got a lease because I was just like, I didn't have a car. My car broke down on my move home, and in the middle of Oklahoma, and I got my ass home, and I needed a car. So the most affordable way for me to do it at that time was to go lease one, and that's what I did. And next summer I'll be turning that back in, and I swear I'm gonna get like a $5,000 used reliable car.
Like I'm Toyota, just bro.
Yeah, like a Camry, dude. I'm not a car person, so it's like I'm not the person that's gonna walk out and be like every day, like, yeah, I got the nice ass whip. Because some people that makes you happy, like that's fine. I'm not against that. Like everyone has their shit that they just enjoy. It's just not me. So at that point, it's like, why stretch my budget to go? I just want something that gets me from A to B.
Cars are very expensive fetish.
I hate car trouble, bro.
I can't stand it.
So give me something reliable that's cheap that I can pay off quickly and move on, and that's gonna be me, bro.
Yeah, I've driven the same Camry for like how many years?
It's got the same.
You've had that thing forever. You drove that out to L.A.
I had that all through college.
Wow, I'm about to get that same type of whip.
It's got like the paint or the swipe on the side of the car
from our garage in L.A.
The race marks.
Yeah. Pulling into our garage
decal.
in LA, you swipe the side.
Yeah, I was like, same whip you've always
and I never
had.
got it fixed.
Right. Because why, bro? It's just for looks.
Because it's a decal.
Yeah.
That shit looks good.
I'm with that shit, bro. I'm not a car guy. I'd rather spend my money on other things.
Yeah, I'm not materialistic at all in any regard, really. Like people are like, I like your sweater. You want it? Like, I literally do that shit all the time. With all of the merchandise that I've gotten from here, I give away.
Yeah.
As soon as someone's, here you go.
Well,
like, I'm signed. What the fuck I need this for? Yeah. I want one hat. I don't need anything else.
I'll just go give it to someone on the street instead.
I was like, I want one of the pink joints. I think I gave my mom one, so I don't have to give her that one.
Yeah, we can give you one of your hats.
Thank you so much. I don't need anything else. I'm happy. I'm content. Well, you got joggers on pre-order, don't you?
Yeah.
You got some here?
No. We just had one.
That's why they're on pre-order.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys got like a mock first.
Just one.
Just
living on the edge.
Just one, so we could take a picture of it.
Let me put it on.
I don't even think it's here.
Where is it?
I took it to the crib. I think.
Do you even fit in a large?
Absolutely not. Yeah, up to my nipples.
All right.
Hey, Packy and Moe-T. I'm a fan from Columbus, Georgia, and I've been listening to your music since about 2011, 2012, so a while now. I love what you guys put out in music and podcasts. It's all great. And my question is, what do you value most about successful people? What is it that you think makes successful people successful? Anyways, love what you guys are doing. Love the music, and keep up the great work. And I'll see you guys.
Great question.
This is going to sound like an easy, obvious answer, but I just think it's the truest. I think successful people at the end of the day, and there's obviously outliers to everything, right? So what I say isn't just a hard and fast rule.
No.
But I think if I look at people I look up to that are successful and shit, the bottom line is they work their ass off. Mm-hmm. And that goes to any industry, anything you're trying to do. If you were to, and some people don't document it or brag about it or whatever, but if you were to go to have a conversation with them and find out what their daily life is like or something, or how they, or you look at someone that's running a big business or something now and you're like, oh, they don't really have to do much. Well, how did they get that business? Mm-hmm. What were they doing to get that business?
Right.
That to me, because there's so much you can do with hard work. We touched on it. You don't even see the fruits of your labor till a year down the road, 2 years down the road. But if you just keep doing all these little things consistently, I've just rarely ever seen it not add up to something dope.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's people that can not work as hard and do the right things and make it for sure.
Yeah.
But I just feel like you're giving yourself the best opportunity if you are just one of those people that just works their fucking ass off.
Yeah, for sure.
Applies to, I think it's just, there's no sense of complacency, and success could be making $40,000 a year. You have a family. You have decent health insurance. Everyone is happy. You look forward to coming home and making a fire and dinner with the kids on Thursdays. That's success. Or you have the person that has $100 million in the bank and they're just like worried because it dipped to 99. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're already thinking about like, how do I add a zero to this? How do I? That's
and I mean that's to me that's more of an issue of like happiness and priorities. Like I jump to like money and shit as far as success because that's just kind of how I interpret it. But yeah, you're right. Like the person that makes $40,000 can be happier than the person that's more successful.
I've seen some people that have so much less than me. They're just so enthusiastic.
Absolutely, dude. My mom, she's a court reporter, so she's the woman in court that writes everything down. And she was at a deposition. I probably can't talk about too much of it, but
yeah, what's the name?
Yeah, but basically, it was just basically like this super redneck, like poor, living out on a farm, and they didn't have and whatever it was, there was some lawsuit about some accident that happened, but someone got like pretty hurt, like had to go in, and you knew based off their situation, they weren't gonna have insurance, they were like fighting to see how the fuck this is gonna get paid for, basically, right? Yeah. But like one of the guys was basically quoted as being like, he came there the next day and was just with the neck brace on and shit. Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. And like, how's everything going? Instead of like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? To be alive. Yeah, it's all about perspective as far as that goes.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like you said, then you think about the person that makes $1 million in a year, but is worried that they didn't make $2 million.
I think I was probably looking at with the question too is someone that's really successful. I was like, they're never gonna just. It's one of those things. You hit the lottery and then you're done. You're good. That's not how life works. No, at all. It's like
I wish
you get really big and really successful in whatever career path you make, and you're just thinking about the next thing. That's all it is. Yeah, that's a successful person.
That's how it's like. That's been my experience so far. I do still think and hope that there will be a point where I'm like, okay, you did it. Now you can like, not that I'll ever just stop cold turkey, like whatever I'm doing, because I think that feeds your soul. Like you need to have something you're doing.
Yeah, I've said a lot that I want to be done with music by the time I'm 30, but that doesn't mean I want to be done with everything around music.
Yeah,
I would just like I don't care as much about my own career.
Right?
Can I worry about someone else's? Can I get into a merchandise line? Can I do? I'm thinking about other things, you know.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's just
specifically money. Like I just feel like there does. Do you think there is a point, not for everybody, because I know there's tons of people like what you described as, no matter what, there's that next step that you're always fighting for. Yeah. And I think that does keep people alive and feeds them in a way that humans need, I think. But do you think there are another group of people that can be perfectly happy? Do you think they can like set a number that they can reach or make per year or whatever, where they know they can, provide for their family, provide for others, set retirement aside, whatever, and they can be like, okay, if I made more, that'd be awesome. Yeah. But I don't need to fight to make more money. Do you think people ever get there, or do you think people are just like, no, there's always a next level?
No, I think that's what separates really successful people in regards to financial security from people that are just like, my mom made more money working as a paralegal and now she's a secretary and she's so much happier and makes quite a bit less money.
Yeah.
I was like, that's success to her. She gets to work with kids. She gets to influence people.
I think you just need to define success because what does that really mean?
I'm so happy she's doing that because I just know how miserable she was driving round trip to Jackson every day just to pay bills and then, doing aloe vera or whatever that company, or Avon was the name of the company, Avon at night, packing those orders. Whereas now she's so much more secure and happy. It's like, so it just depends on the person and what you really want.
And I think that's something that artists and shit need to hear too. Like I know I've needed to hear it multiple times from people as far as like I have some friends that make shit tons of money and are really successful, but also talk to me about how they are thinking about trying to do something that just has more meaning. Like they just don't feel like what they get up and do every day has any
they're making a
meaning.
difference.
Yeah. And it's like, I get to open my inbox and see kids talk to me about how my song changed their life. Like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to let that just kind of go in one ear and out the other the further along you go. Mm-hmm. But it's like, damn, that means something, and you can't take it for granted either. So it is like you guys said, you got to balance out what success is for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to define your goals because that's the thing. Like what you both were just saying is, if you define success as make enough money to take care of your family and wake up every day without stress, then you can attain that goal. That's a very attainable goal.
Right.
If that's all you're worried about.
Right.
And then you're successful.
Right.
Yeah. I think what makes successful people successful is respecting their elders.
No matter what.
Not question any bullshit from
Grandpa
their
might say some suspect things sometimes, but he's fucking right.
That's right.
At least tell him he's right.
All right, let's play this next question here if I can.
I'm getting hot in here.
Yo,
hot in.
My name is Gavin. I just wanted to ask about the Spec 16. So I've been listening to a lot of them recently, just as a little throwback, and I was curious what was your motivation to start the Spec 16s, and if they're ever going to come back or if you're going to start making them again. Love what you guys do and keep it up.
Interesting timing for that question. The idea for Spec 16s was basically, because we started them a while ago, was basically to get some content for YouTube that was exclusive to YouTube and help us grow our YouTube channel and give you guys visual content with what we did, which was rap. So that was the idea behind Spec 16s. I don't think they'll come back, but if you caught, Marcus Ryan just dropped what we're calling 0 to 60. And it's basically kind of like a Spec 16, but more in this day and age. So
shorter for the ADD people on Instagram.
He just did it on Instagram.
Yeah. So Marcus, Apollo, and I are going to be kind of going back and forth every week on Wednesdays. Every Wednesday, there's going to be a 0 to 60 that one of us posts on Instagram and Twitter, and it's basically a 16, like a rap verse, anywhere between 5 and 0 to 60 seconds, I guess, for Instagram and Twitter, because we just figured this day and age, it's just a better way to get exposure and get your shit out there via Instagram and Twitter and clips like that, rather than posting a full video on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think the more content, so rather than once a month, once a week is more important this day and age. And to do that, it's going to be a little lower quality of video. Like, we're not going to go out and shoot a video every time like we did with Spec 16s, but some will be really dope of the 0 to 60s. Some will be just sitting in the car, holding our phone up and recording it, but you'll get something every Wednesday. So that's the 0 to 60 is our new age Spec 16.
I think it makes a lot of sense too, just because how many people follow you on Instagram that are aware of what you do but don't really check in?
Right.
So if you put it right there, what I would consider the most important social media nowadays, it's like it's there for them. Oh, like, oh shit, that was kind of dope. Maybe I should actually check out his stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I would more so look at it like that. Or if it gets popular, it'll show up on the whatever page. I don't even know what it's called. Like Discover.
It's basically like the new YouTube.
Yeah.
Not that YouTube is irrelevant now, but it's like that YouTube was the spot to go find that type of shit. when we started Spec16.
Yeah.
Now it's Instagram.
YouTube is just more work as well. You can scroll through Instagram and bet you have to like commit to a YouTube video.
Right. Last question. Are you ready?
Let's get it.
Then
let's get the.
How accurate are those transcripts?
This is for Cyrus. Like I think 2 years ago, he was teasing a song and a couple songs that were supposed to be on an album. One was "She Don't Wear Clothes," which sounded like a really.
Packy has a verse on that.
And,
Fire.
It sounded like one of my favorites that he was almost going to release. I was wondering what happened to him. I hope they didn't get scrapped. That sounded like it would do big numbers. Thank you, and I can't wait to hear more music from you. Thanks.
I feel like that's like my whole career. Things he was almost going to release.
That's what the project should be called.
Yeah, things I almost put out. Here's the thing. I'm constantly creating just like anybody else. I'm sure that Pack has shitloads of songs that he'll probably never put out. Or
it's all on my Spotify.
Yeah. He's not sure how to finish. And so they're just kind of sitting in abeyance until he finds a home for it. I was like, I have a ton of that. Like, I haven't even mentioned the bathhouse, and I'm sorry for that. I was like, I finished writing the bathhouse, and that's around the time that I reverted over and started experimenting with production again. And I was like, oh my God, I like this so much better. Timing is the issue too, especially. She Don't Wear Clothes was something that was on. I had an earlier variation of Trying to Enjoy Myself. We back?
Yeah, we're back. Technical difficulties. My laptop just died out of nowhere, so that was cool.
Did you lose power?
But we're back. We're back. What were we talking about? She Don't Wear Clothes?
Oh, yeah. I was talking about the bathhouse and how I started working on production again. She Don't Wear Clothes was something that was on an earlier version of Trying to Enjoy Myself. Bunch of other songs. A bunch of songs that I wrote for that. And the creative process is weird because like as soon as you create something 6 months later, like that's old news to you. It's still new to everybody else. But if you feel like you're constantly growing, it's like, I don't want to revisit that. I feel like I'm better now. That's all it is. Yeah. And it feels like the timeline is odd. So if I'm about to drop this music right now and then I'll be like, here, She Didn't Wear Clothes, but it actually belongs between We Should Just Enjoy Ourselves and like my second single of 2017 and that timeline, it's really weird for you to give it out of sync because I don't feel like the quality matches up.
Yeah.
So it's more so just a personal thing, personal vendetta, I guess. And it's like, I'm just trying to create and keep growing. And I want to make sure that it's exponential and it's not like blips where it's like, I feel like he's just putting shit out to put shit out. I don't want to do that.
All right.
That's all. Will it be scrapped? There's a very high chance. I'm sorry. But here's the thing too. I'm trying to brainstorm ideas for me to. I have a ton of music that I just like is just sitting there and it won't get heard. I'm trying to find solutions for that. I'm not sure what they are.
Yeah.
If it's just like down the line, Spectator YouTube videos. Here's some songs.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I would do. I have no idea. As soon as I know, you'll know. That's it.
I mean, that's part of the reason why we did Spec 16s and why we did and why we're doing 0 to 60 is like I just talked about on the last podcast how I don't really have a bunch of just full songs sitting around, but I have a bunch of verses and shit. And so it's a way to just kind of utilize what I think is dope, but I just don't really have a spot for and use it in a productive manner.
Yeah. Okay. We're ready to get the hell out of this sauna.
So to wrap it up, Cyrus, he's leaving the label. He's
deuces.
He's pissed.
Everything sucks around here. You don't know. Help me.
There's like someone behind here that's directing what we're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
What Cyrus has to say.
I'm not reading off the Telebrown. Everything's great. Best friends I've ever had.
Yep. Cyrus is striking out on his own. He's graduating from the Spec. December 7th, he'll be giving you some new music. It's a Friday, so make sure you're on the lookout for that. Any last thing you want to say, Cyrus?
I'll be in LA that week. So, hit me up, man. I'll meet and hang out with whoever's out there. For real.
I guess I'll just say, we didn't really say it. I will always, no matter what, be very thankful for Cyrus for just as much as
it's Thanksgiving time. Let's all go around the table and say what we're thankful for.
Oh yeah,
for
you
real
guys
though.
Get
Like,
started, and then I won't say anything.
For real. As much as Mo and I, because we're always, coming from our perspective, we took a chance on Cyrus. You took a huge chance on us, more than Marcus, more than Apollo.
You say that, but I was like, for me, that decision was so easy to make. But
How
it's like,
come? Just because you didn't
should I make 100% of nothing,
right?
Or should I make something of something?
See, and that's why that was how we viewed it as well, and why we.
So for me,
I guess
no brainer.
Okay, so I guess when I say huge chance, it's for us. We just are. Maybe it wasn't a huge chance,
if it doesn't work out.
We were very appreciative of it because, especially looking back on how successful of an artist you were, how dope you were to work with, and shit like that. Like you, dude, I did not expect you to see the success you saw. Especially as quickly as you saw it. Like, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what we were getting into. We didn't know what artists we were going to try to sign and how we were going to go about this. And so for you to hit our radar and immediately just be down, and us to go from there, like, going forward, like, that we'll always be thankful for that and appreciative of it, because we know just as much as, we've had our little issues with you on why Cyrus doing this, why is he blah, blah, blah.
Dude.
We understand that we were learning how to be a label too, and you had to deal with certain pitfalls to that of, like, we weren't a well-oiled machine. Like, I still don't think we're a well-oiled machine, but we are way more now than we were when you first started with us. So Marcus and Apollo get to experience things in a more smooth way, than you did early on. So no, we're definitely thankful for that, grateful for that, and obviously wish you the best of luck going forward.
Yeah. I was like I said, the relationship isn't ending now. And with anything, like I mentioned earlier, obviously you reach a point where if you feel like there was a point where I was like, I feel like I'm getting to this point where, like I said, it's really hard to manage expectations. So whatever you're pursuing in life, remind yourself, like, you need people around you that remind you that you might be doing this right now, but that's not always going to be the case. And it's just like, it's nice to have those people around. Like with anything else, you'll go through periods. God, dude, I'm sure you guys have saved the dumbest tweets from me.
No,
dude,
I'm not that.
Those are something we want to forget about.
Yeah, I'm not that deep. I'm not that deep with it.
What I was like, well,
I wish I would have. Now that you say that,
right? Damn it!
Not you. No, not. I wasn't even speaking to you guys in specific. I'm sure fans. Like, I think I had a line. A line on one of the songs you hear. If I tweet it, then receipt it. Just know I was drunk at the time, and it was sobering to see it. That's all.
Nice.
So it's like that's something like that. I might have said some variation of that, but that's just life, man. Just like, oh shit, shouldn't have done that. Move forward.
Yeah,
now I'm at a point where I very much feel like I'm ready to enjoy myself, and that's that. I'm super.
That's
grateful.
a great way to leave it.
Yeah.
Boom. Should we outro to your new shit?
Let's keep it Cyrus if you got something on deck.
Oh, you don't even want to bog it down with the...
That's fine. I don't give a shit.
I was like, I want to hear it.
Obviously you did give a shit, so...
I've heard my songs. I haven't heard your shit.
All right. Let's get it.
Well, I'm not playing Cyrus' shit because I want everybody to hear that when it drops.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
You down?
I'm down, like a pessimist.
Okay. New Packy coming this Friday. God-given. In stores everywhere on Friday.
I left them behind, thought I needed help. Turns out I'll be fine. First one to clock in, last one to clock out. Comfortable in my skin, took me time to find out. I just stay on my shit, I just keep to myself. I've been broke, I've been lost.